Welcome to the Crystal Self-Healer Podcast. I'm Carissa Weaver. On this podcast, we blend the magic of crystals with the science of psychology to help you break free from chaos, ditch the overwhelm, and master your emotions so you can have more energy, get more done, and feel better every day. Get ready to unlock your intuition and restore your true power as we cover how you can transform your life using crystals and self-awareness. Are you ready to get started? All right, let's go. Prepping your crystals to work with them can be quick and easy and doesn't need to be difficult. There are lots of ways to go about getting your crystals ready to work with, and the last thing we need to do is worry about whether we're getting it right. So before we get into the different ways you can use, let's talk about why we would want to cleanse, clear, and charge our crystals before we work with them. With the atomic makeup of a crystal, it is very pure and set in its vibration. One of the biggest reasons we want to cleanse, clear, and charge our crystals is to reset the energy to its purest form. In a previous episode, I mentioned Max Planck and his work around matter absorbing and emitting energy. Here's where this theory comes into play. Before we bring a crystal into our collection, it has been looked at, thought about, or picked up by anyone who happens to come across it, from the person who extracted it from the earth, to the person who packaged it up for sale, to all the people who ogle it in the store, to the cashier at the counter when you purchase it. Each of these individuals are emitting energy that can attach to and linger on your crystal. Because we don't know the intention any of these individuals may or may not have had, the purpose of cleansing, clearing, and charging your crystal is about removing unnecessary attached energy. Now, this does not mean that the energy attached to your crystal is bad. It just means that it's not yours, and we don't want to include unknown outside energy when we work with our crystals. It's important to understand how energy becomes attached to our crystals. First, energy can be simply there because of the existence of the crystal. So what I mean by that is a crystal sitting in its natural state or in its matrix. Matrix is where the crystal grows. It will absorb energy from just existing in that space, from the pressure of the earth to the vibrations that permeate the ground. An example of how that happens for us as humans is when we're in a space that is highly charged with excitement and anticipation. It is so easy for us to become influenced by that energy that we ourselves then feel excited and the anticipation along with all the other individuals in the group. This is studied as emotional contagion in psychology. Another way that a crystal can absorb energy is when an individual holds an intention and purposely imprints it on the crystal. Now, this can be a good thing when it is us programming our own personal crystal, but sometimes we transfer our intention without recognizing what we're doing. So we'll stay with our example in the crystal industry and think of a worker who is maybe not experiencing a great day, and their negative mindset is what they're focusing on as they are going about their job of packaging crystals to be sent to a wholesaler or to a retailer. Unintentionally, they may be attaching their intention to the crystals that we would then find in the retail stores. So whether the energy is attached intentionally or unintentionally, I'd consider that one pretty compelling reason why we would want to cleanse, clear, and charge our crystals before we work with them. Now, when it comes to all the different ways we can cleanse, clear, and charge our crystals, we do want to note that not all crystals need the same type of attention or the same frequency of attention. Some crystals have more resilience, meaning they may require less cleansing, clearing, and charging than what basic cleansing advice indicates. For example, Any crystal that is associated with protective, transmuting, or self-cleansing properties may be less prone to absorbing external energy. So I'll use the example of black tourmaline, which is a crystal known for its strong protective qualities, as well as its ability to absorb and transmute negativity. Because of these properties, it is more likely to neutralize any negative energies and require less manual cleaning. But that doesn't mean they never benefit from the little energetic pick-me-up. So how do you know when your crystals need to be cleansed? I will say there are some times where you may not need to put much thought into whether you want to cleanse, clear, or charge your crystals. For example, when you first bring your crystal home, you will want to reset the energy of your crystal. Or when you've finished a particular intention with your crystal, you'll want to reset the energy so that you don't unintentionally pull old energy into whatever new intention you want to work with that crystal for. One thing I really want to emphasize is that while having a protocol can be helpful, for example, cleansing, clearing, and charging your crystals under the full moon, it's great. Just know it doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all schedule. What's most important when it comes to establishing whether your crystals need cleansing is that what you're doing is addressing a desire that you need and have, or a knowing that you sense. So once you've become more established working with your crystals, you're going to understand when your crystals may need an energy reset. Some individuals have explained or described the feeling of their crystals and the energy they emit as being heavy or sticky, and that is what indicates to them that it is time to cleanse, clear, or charge their crystals. This process will evolve and change as your practice evolves and changes, and that is totally normal. As you learn how your crystals work and how you react and respond to them, you'll understand and develop a knowing of how your crystal vibrates and when it requires some love, attention, and rest. So now that we're at the point where we're going to cover all the ways you can cleanse, clear, and charge your crystals, I want you to take a moment and think about all the ways you physically or symbolically cleanse things in your life. Maybe you bathe and shower using water. Maybe you watch birds using dirt. Maybe you attend a church service where they use the smoke from incense or herbs. Or perhaps you participate in religious rituals that involve fire or candlelight. Or maybe you're familiar with more ancient traditions that use sound. These are just a few of the ways you can cleanse, clear, and charge your crystals. And the reason I present it this way is that depending on your background, you may be called to use a method familiar to you from your heritage, your religion, your education, or any space in your life that resonates for you. We need to ensure that we are not feeling like there is some specific rule we need to follow if we are called or trained to do it a different way. I don't say this to discredit, disparage, or throw shade on the practices taught in mystery schools or specific traditions or religious practices. They have their reasons for what they prescribe and therefore hold a place if you are actively subscribing to and practicing those protocols. So how do you go about selecting the right method for you? Remember, what one person tells you as a method for cleansing your crystals needs to speak to you as something that you believe in. Personally, I'm not drawn to bury my crystals. I don't have the patience to bury them, but it doesn't mean that it isn't a good method of cleansing. It just means it's not meant for me. Water, smoke, intention, and sound are my favorite ways to cleanse, clear, and charge my crystals, and the method I choose depends on what I'm needing to achieve, the time frame I have available, and the resources I have available to meet my needs in that moment. As an example, when I was performing crystal healings in the spa, between clients, I would need to cleanse, clear, and charge my crystals in order to not carry over unintentional energy from one client to the next. However, I didn't always have sufficient time to do a water cleanse for the crystals in a 10-minute turnaround. So in those moments, I would use the practice of cleansing with sound. No one practice is better than the other. Water is not better than sound unless you decide that it is. Before we use water to cleanse, clear, and charge our crystals, we will want to make note of the Mohs hardness of the crystal. The Mohs scale is a measurement of hardness from 1 to 10, with talc being a 1 and diamond being a 10. The softer the crystal, the more we will want to avoid water as a method for cleansing because the crystal will become damaged or even disintegrate. The general rule of thumb is any crystal 5 or lower is advised to not be cleansed using water. And when it comes to placing your crystals in the sun, be aware that some crystals may lose the vibrancy of their color when left in the sun too long. So if you're choosing the sun, limit the length of time you leave your crystals out, or choose a time of day when the sun isn't at its fullest strength. There are some individuals who say you need to cleanse, clean, and charge your crystals before each use. While this might be a good rule of thumb, I invite you to question whether it is truly something that you need to follow. For example, if you are working with one crystal for a specific objective, would you need to cleanse it between moments of use? Personally, I'm going to think no, because why would I want to clear out what it is I've been working towards and start from scratch each time? And this brings us to a question we need to ask ourselves, and that is, does cleansing, clearing, or charging make sense right now? When we've been working with a specific crystal for a specific intention, and we have not been getting what we need or the desired end result, then maybe the answer is yes. But, and this is a big but, if we haven't been using our process of reflecting to see if there are results that are leading us in the direction of our desired end result, maybe not our full end result, but in that moment when we've been making progress, do we really want to reset the energy in that moment? I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. Now, to recap, some of the ways you can cleanse, clear, and charge your crystals include intention or prayer, burying in the dirt, flame, light from the moon or the sun, smoke, sound, water, or any other way that you would consider as a method that brings about a physical or energetic reset to your crystals. Use your imagination. Maybe you want to use rice or Himalayan salt for their protective or cleansing properties. This is one of the places where we get to really demystify working with crystals and make our practice our own. If you are looking to stock up on your sacred herbs like Palo Santo or sage for practicing smoke cleansing, you can unlock a 20% discount on your next crystal purchase in my shop by taking the What Crystal is Best for You quiz. The link is in the show notes. And I also hope that you'll join me for the next episode where we will be talking about how you can protect your energy with crystals. Today's episode has been brought to you by Black Tourmaline and the Mohs Hardness Scale. May we all release that which does not serve us and return all energy that is not ours back to its original source. Blessed be, my friends. All right, my friends, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for joining me here today on the Crystal Self-Healer podcast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review, and take the What Crystal is Best for You quiz linked in the show notes. Join me again next week as we continue to demystify crystals, how your brain works, and how you can use them so you can have more energy, get more done, and feel better every day.